Do you want an amazing marriage? Are you ready to take your marriage to the next level? Then stick around for your Marriage Matters podcast with marriage coach Lynn. Let's put some fun and sizzle into your relationship.
Hi, today I'll be joined by my husband Bob. Hi Bob.
Hey Lynn.
I asked you to be here today because I have a topic that's great for discussion. The question we'll be addressing is marriage hard work? Is this a myth? Is there any truth to this? What exactly makes marriage hard? What do you think? Have you ever heard that myth? Marriage is hard work. Got to roll up your sleeves. It's really hard.
Oh, well, I think your last question there kind of presumes the answer. What exactly makes marriage hard? I think there's some hardness in it, but when I think of it, I think of climbing Mount Everest is hard, okay? I mean,
Really?
When it comes to marriage, I think maybe we have to look at it from maybe not from the standpoint of how hard it is, but is it worth it? You know, I mean, we do all kinds of things in life, right? You're a swimmer.
Right.
You go out, you swim in the ocean, you swim like 2 miles. Is that easy? No, I don't think so. Definitely not for me. It might be easier for you.
It is easier for me because I have the skills and I've worked up to it. But yes, I see what you're saying, that there's certain levels. But that's a good question. Is it worth it? Is better than is marriage hard work?
I think that's the real key. Is it worth it? And are you willing to put in the effort that maybe that's the right way to look at it. It takes effort. I mean, it's not easy from the standpoint of, I can just sit back on my easy chair and just marriage is great and everything works. I think when you put two people together, any two people, with our free wills and our own selfish interests, and, face it, folks, I mean, we all have selfish interests. I mean, we all kind of look out for ourselves, fundamentally, and we have to overcome that. And especially when you get into a marriage between a man and a woman and you're living together forever, for the rest of your life, it's going to take effort for you to come out of that shell and think about the other person and not about yourself. But as far as whether it's worth it, I can say that it's definitely worth it. After 32 years of being married, it just gets better and better. I mean, the more you work at it and the more you put into it.
True. You use the word effort, and I like that. Does it take effort? Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't seem to. It's seamless. Did you know, Bob, there's a really high increase of divorce within the first 5 years, and I know reasons why. The effort might be very difficult for young married couples. Face it, you have a person living a single life, another person living a single life, then they come together and they have to form this whole new unit. And that can take effort, especially people just coming together and living together for the first time, getting to know each other. So there's a lot of effort, I believe, in the early years of marriage. Even the basic things, you're figuring out, well, who's going to do the chores? How are we going to keep the house clean? Different responsibility breakdown. Who's better with the budget and the finances? How do we even blend and merge the finances? So I think marriage takes effort, especially in the early years, and it can throughout, but
Yeah, I was going to say about that definitely, you hear about the 7-year itch, that after 7 years, if a marriage is going to break up, a lot of them do around that time. But I think that's kind of what you're getting at, is that two people who were living separately now have come together, and now they're faced with giving up some things that they might have wanted to do when they were single, but now they can't do. So it's really decision time. I like to think of marriage, the love between husband and wife, really as more of a decision and not a feeling. It's like, it goes back to what I was saying before, I think, about what is your motivation? What is your desire? Is it to make the marriage work? Well, then you're going to think, what can I do to make this work? And how can I not think about myself? And how can I think about the other person? And for us, all human beings, that can take a lot of effort.
I agree with that. Anytime two people get married, you're blending different personalities, different levels of awareness, different temperaments, different preferences. We all, even if two Americans marry each other, you're similar in age, you're from a similar geographic location, there's still going to be huge differences in the type of family you come from. So some people think a marriage is harder if there's a big age difference, if there's a cultural difference, a racial difference. So not necessarily. There's going to be a difference. Even when you look at a couple and think they have similarities, there are going to be a lot of differences that are blending.
Yeah, and I think a thing to focus on too are the positive benefits of coming together with somebody else, because what that's going to do is force you, in your trying to get over your own selfishness, it's going to force you to look at yourself and take a real good look at yourself and your habits and say, gee, are those really good habits? Or is this something really worthwhile that I'm doing? Or is this personality trait of mine? Like I had a real problem like early on in my marriage with anger.
Mm-hmm.
I would be prone to anger, and things didn't go my way. I should say, I kind of said early on in our marriage, it still goes on today. I still work with that and struggle with that. But that's the beauty of marriage, is it forces you to look at that part of yourself and say, you know what, that's really not a good way to react when somebody does something that I don't necessarily think that they should do. And if you can get over that and look at the positive side of that and realize it's going to make you a better person in the end.
Absolutely.
And it's really helped me being married, and to really look at myself and say, what are my bad habits? What can I get rid of? And there's nothing like being married to have to face, and if you have children, that's where it's beautiful. God's plan here for marriage and the family is just great, because children force us to really step back out. I don't know how much we want to get into the having children side of this, but it changes the whole dynamic too between husband and wife when you start having children. Now there's somebody else, but then that somebody else really represents physically the love you have with your husband and you have with your wife, and it's a beautiful thing. And we just have to get over sometimes this innate selfishness we have that initially maybe might make us feel a little wounded or a little hurt or something, and say, wait a minute, I got to come out of myself and realize, the greater good here is how to improve myself.
Yeah, you've touched on a lot of things. And first of all, yes, I can attest that.
I know, I'm kind of spewing here.
No,
Sorry.
It's great. It's great. It's such a great topic. First of all, you talked about how you are forced to improve yourself, the hard work you do on yourself when you're in a marriage. And when you're not married, you might not notice things. You might not have to accommodate to another person. So that's very interesting how you've noticed that your anger was affecting the marriage, yourself, me, and then you've worked on it. Your anger is almost non-existent, pretty much gone, will only come in a very few times. So it's great. And you talked about children. Oh my gosh, if you want to face honesty, just have some kids grow up and 8, 9, 10 years old, they're already seeing things about you and showing you your weaknesses. It's thrown right in your face.
Yeah.
So it's funny, hysterical.
If you want to see all your
awesome
habits, just watch your children, and all of a sudden they'll reflect back to you things you've said or the way you say things or just your manner, and you go, wow, where'd you learn that? Oh.
And it's awesome that our kids are so mature and intuitive, and at young ages they notice things about us that we are forced to improve. But yes, we're not going to get too much into talking about kids today. We are the parents of 6 children, and we will be doing a podcast. We're going to have an occasion coming up where all 8 of us will be together, and we're going to do a podcast episode. And in the future, Bob, I'd love to invite you back, and we can do a series on fathers and husbands, and just talk about those the importance of the husband's role in the marriage. So that will be exciting to get into. But there's just so many positive benefits, and as you were talking, I thought that together we're stronger, and that's the awesomeness of marriage. And so if you think, yes, at times, friends, you will face hard times in your marriage, especially when there are major differences. One of you gets a job on the other coast and you're faced with moving, and one does not. That's hard work to come to a consensus, to compromise, to sacrifice, to work things out. but it's very valuable. So if you say, is marriage hard work? In my mind, I don't think that marriage has been hard work for all of these years. I don't see it as work, like climbing Mount Everest or working so hard. I've seen it as all flowing because I'm always trying to be a good moral person and do the right thing, have good behaviors and loving behaviors towards you. Working on self-awareness is very important, and developing skills, especially in communication. I know that over the years I struggle with interrupting, talking too much or too fast, or filling in people's sentences. I'm always trying to overcome those, but I'm aware of it. I stop myself. You help me stop myself. Blending, like I said, of our temperaments are different, our preferences. For example, Bob, you have more of a travel urge and bug than I do. You might want to go to Hawaii, and I'm not necessarily interested. So it might be hard for you that you have to not travel with me and find somebody else, but you found our oldest son in a recent trip that you just took.
Well, yeah, the two of us went to Italy, and we toured on a pilgrimage through Italy. And my oldest son, Rob, he asked me, he wanted a father-son kind of thing. But yeah, Lynn is not necessarily big on travel, and that's fine. Everybody has their preferences, so you just have to work around it in some cases and go, okay, maybe I'll just go, or.
Yeah. So I guess what makes marriage hard? The fact that we have to overcome our selfishness. That's probably the fact that we have to, when we really want to do something, we have to maybe not do it, or maybe, for example, as a father of 6 children, maybe you wanted to golf for many years and you weren't able to. Maybe you wanted a sports car and that wasn't practical. We needed car seats.
I had to sell my Firebird
years
when
ago.
I got married. Oh, I missed
When
that
you had a
car.
kid.
Oh, that was a great car.
Yeah.
But you have a family, and priorities change. But the real key, I think, in my mind, is what it is what's your goal? Do you want to make your marriage work? Do you want to make your marriage great? If you do, then you will willingly take on the hardships. I mean, just like the Olympian who wants that gold medal, he's willingly, or she's willingly, going to get up early in the morning and go train all day and do whatever it takes to win that gold medal, because it's worth it. And that's the real key. That's the focus that we have to have. So
I think that's a great way to end the show. Is it hard work? Yes, sometimes it is, but it's worth it. It's valuable, and it's pretty awesome. So I think it's a myth, though, that is marriage hard work? Every day you're going to wake up and you're going to stick to the grind. I think marriage just flows when you're being the right person, when you're doing the right things, when you're making the team effort. It doesn't seem work anymore. It just becomes a habit. It becomes a habit.
The Olympian, or the person who's climbing Mount Everest, isn't going around complaining that climbing Mount Everest is hard. They're not complaining that, to get this gold medal is hard. It's because that's what they're striving for, and that's what so we all in life have these things we want to strive for. And so I would urge everybody to just, if you're married, strive to make that marriage great, because there are greatness that can come out of it and benefits that you can see.
All right. Well, I want to thank you, Bob, for being a co-host. This was fun. We'll have to do this more often.
Yeah.
I like having the conversation. So we'll pull you in for a few more episodes. And marriage is great. And until next week, make your marriage great.